Universal Studios? Huh, I wonder what that means. Now we're gonna shift gears from the Pegasus, the Fiero project, to uncovering this one. So some of you have probably figured out what this is. I've had this car for since the late 90s. It was built in the late 90s. I put it together then, and it's been sitting, God, for about 15, 16 years, pretty much untouched. I got lucky, and I had a friend that would allow me to store it there for a while. So life gets in the way, you know. You drive a car every day, and then all of a sudden, hey, I got to do something with this. So it was either eliminated from the stable, which of course I did not want to do. I put enough time and effort into it, into putting it together, and it was okay. Well, let's just put this thing in storage for a while. Of course, I didn't anticipating it being as long as storage as it was, but here we are. So now that it's home, over the last year, it has gotten quite a bit of work done to it, as cars do when they sit, especially when they're not monitored as well as they should be. Little furry creatures decided to call this the new hotel, and I had to evict them and then find all the damage, repair that, which is what that headliner is right there in my pile of mess of stuff I gotta clean up. That headliner, you can actually still see remnants of creature running through it, and as they chewed through the roof. When this thing's laid out, you can actually see the path they took when they were running through the roof. So I had to take that down. Some wires in the roof were a little damaged, not bad. This car has a very rare subwoofer option, and it chewed those wires up. So let's see what it looks like when it's been sitting under a car cover for months and months over the winter, shall we? Oh yeah, look at the dust. But you can see, sometimes you can't always keep them in a garage, right? This one usually is, but sometimes you just can't. So I at least went out and bought a semi-decent car cover, fitted, of course. The extended nose pretty much gives away what this is. Let's try to clean this up some. Yeah, that's a mess. Yeah, see, some damage happened as it was sitting. Not sure what that is. It's only in the clear, so I think I should be able to rub that out. I'll probably wet sand it. Let's put a charger on this since it's been sitting for quite some time now. Yeah, just the way it was when I left it. And it smells clean in here still. So it's nice when the car sits and it doesn't have inhabitants, as we'll say. Oh, there's the bag for the car cover. Yeah, let me get this thing uncovered here. Oh, the wind's helping me. Throw a charger on it, and maybe we'll do a walk around and see what else it needs, and come back to this one. But this will be featured on the channel in its own series. I'll do a playlist and everything on it, because cars do need maintenance. Since this thing's been sitting, let's see, some of the things I fixed were I recovered a headliner and put a new one in it, which looks fine. Had to move this back from the factory location, which of course is under here when you put an overhead console in. There's no place to put it. So I put that there. I completely rewired this. Everything has weather pack connectors and color-coded harnesses now, so if anybody ever had to repair it, you know, if God forbid I'm gone or it gets sold, it'll be easily repairable. Same thing with the dash. When the electronics came out, I had some LEDs I had to repair. The countdown, I know a lot of people don't like the stair-step design, and I'm honestly not a fan of it either. At the time that this car was built, 2 TV dashboards that you could buy were pretty slim. This one had to be completely reconstructed from an old mold because it was in such a bad shape when I got it. So I completely reconstructed it, fixed it all the glasswork, painted it. It's actually got the same texture. It's hard to see on camera, especially with the sun beating on like this. You can kind of see it in some of these. But it's got the same texture that the top of the doors have, which took me a while to replicate. But it's in there now. It's sun faded, of course, over the years because, I mean, God, this thing's 24, 25 years old now with all this stuff sitting in it. Back then, you couldn't get flat screen LCDs. Now you can. They're readily available. They're really inexpensive. So those are actual black and white CRT TVs. They used to work just fine until, of course, the analog systems went away and everything's digital now. So now they don't do a whole lot. They do turn on. I mean, they still kind of function. And I could, I guess, put like a VCR or something to them. There's something funny, a VCR, I'm dating myself. DVD player or something like that. I could. I probably won't, because this dash is going to come out. Everything still functions. The compass, speedometer, signal tuning works, trip, odometer, that all works. Everything's functional. As I haven't mentioned it, it's obviously a replica of KITT from Knight Rider. So it's not as accurate as I'd like it to be, which I've been slowly upgrading. I updated my wheel a little bit over the last year. God, that's so dusty. I used to have a big horn button in the center, and I got rid of that. Probably the only thing that will stay in here is probably the wheel, because I've got molds to build everything else and molds of original parts, so of screen used prop car parts. So I'm going to end up probably using a lot of that. I've got a whole new console I'm building for that to make it more accurate. I'll have a single screen instead of the two, because as I was saying, when I started to build this, for guys who aren't big Knight Rider fans, there's two main designs of the dash, the 2TV and the 1TV. I like the originally I was a big fan of the 1TV dash aesthetics as far as the electronics go, as far as all this stuff is laid out. I liked all that, but I wasn't a fan of the one giant TV. I kind of liked having two. So I merged the two seasons together and kind of got this. And it's okay. And of course, to anybody who's not a huge Knight Rider fan, you're not going to go, oh God, that's totally different from the show. But it is. It's completely different. So I've now got enough stuff that I can put this car back together and make it way more accurate to a screen used car. And now that I've been around a screen used car and I can see how it was built and stuff like that, I can kind of take some ideas from that and then improve on some of those to make it a driver, because none of those were meant to be driven on the street. They were, you know, a TV prop, so they are what they are. I have everything to build that and make it correct. So I'm going to do that. I might even remove this console. This is one of the few things that gets me, because I know it's not accurate. I know it isn't. But I love the functionality of this thing. But I do have an original overhead. I guess I could put it in here, and it will kind of go with the rest of the car. These seats, well, it's kind of de-stitching itself right here, and they're a little dirty. Some marks on it here and there. These are original 82 Trans Am seats in the Pirella cloth. These have not been recovered. I think I'm going to take these covers off these seats and completely clean them, restitch this. I've got some original Pirella material that I can, if I have to replace small strips of this, I can. I like to keep as much of it original as I can. I might end up redoing this piece here just because of that. That's the problem with Pirella cloth. It's so thin that it just wears so easy. But it does have, it's hard to see, especially with the shadow, got a herringbone style pattern with black thread in it. It's not all tan like you would think. But these are original seats. They're in not bad shape. That one's actually even in better shape. No rips, no tears. That one's actually super clean. But it's original from 82. The PMD buttons for badges are original. I do have reproductions of those, which actually, funny enough, I can kind of show you what that looks like. Because in this car, I redid these seats with new PMD badges. This is not original Pirella material. I didn't have that material when I started to recover these, so when I recovered them, I did it with this. It's tan, they look good, they feel great. I had to put a lot of foam down in here. They were pretty warm. I also added seat heaters, so they are now heated PMD seats. But these look fantastic now. I'll probably leave them like this for a while. I do have another set of PMDs. I could recover those in the original Pirella and put them in here. You never know. I might do that. I might not. Who knows? This is another project car, as you can see from the wheel, what it's going to be. So, that's that. Let's get this thing uncovered. There's not too much else really to talk about. This car used to be an 84 Trans Am L69 car. It has every available option with the exception of Y82. So it's not a special edition. It wasn't a 15th. It wasn't anything like that. It is posi. It is W06, L69 automatic, subwoofer system, which I had to rebuild because the mice decided to say hello to my little friend when it came to the wiring. Also getting a factory functioning, I don't know if you can see it now that the custom dash is in here. Yeah, it's right there. There is the subwoofer switch. The word on is kind of off, or worn off on it, but there it is. So those switches are extremely hard to come by. I've hit up everybody that I know, every junkyard, every specialty place, and I had a friend come through. Thank God He had one that had enough pieces of it that was functioning that I could take parts from that and then parts of my original and put them together, and now it functions just fine. And I still have the original speakers in here. I reconed both of them because the cones, of course, are rotted. They sit. It's hard to. So the sail panels are there. On the top half, I think it's the top has a regular a 4x6, and the bottom has like a 5-inch round subwoofer on both sides. So instead of having a 6x9, that's what's mounted back there. And I reconed the original speakers, and they sound fantastic. For a car of this year to have subwoofers from the factory that you can selectable turn on and off, they sound amazing. It's really impressive. They're not going to win any, you know, competitions. They don't rattle the car off or anything like that, but they definitely give it the low end that it kind of needs to fill it in. I did replace the front speakers with Pioneers. I still have those, the original ones. I might recon those too. But yeah, the car's coming along. It still needs a lot of work, and it needs a lot of updating. So just about all of this is going to go away at some point, just in the name of accuracy. This car has served me well. I've driven it. I think the car itself has like 400,000 miles on it. I'm not even sure. I do have the original odometer in there, and it's tucked way up under there. So when I pull the dash out, maybe I'll do an episode showing the mileage on it. But the mileage on that is original. I might, if I'm lucky, have 10,000 miles on the area since it was built. And most of that's going from driving from Florida back up to the north here in Ohio, where I'm at, a couple times a year for the few years that I drove it. 4 or 5 years or so. So there might be 10,000 miles on it. I did a couple tweaks to the engine when I built that and put it back in, but it looks aesthetically stock because that's what I wanted to keep. I wanted to open the hood, and other than me putting decals everywhere, because that's what I did back then with the B&M and K&N stickers and stuff like that. Other than that, you don't know. So it's not in bad shape. It's coming along. We're gonna kind of update this as we go. And let me get the car cover off and throw a battery charger on it. And a little addendum. So here's the bumper that will be going on. The monster here. I'll get the battery charger sitting on it. As you can see, it's not shaped quite right. I'm not going to complain about this bumper because it's been on the car for well over 20 years, and it's gotten its butt kicked. I know it looks like it's just a bunch of dust. I just got to get it off. But so as it was sitting for all those years, I started to get some rock chips in it, and after all the years of me doing it, I wet sanded this last year just to see how thin the paint was becoming, and yeah, it got pretty thin. You can see that there's the fiberglass gel coat, first layer of primer, the black paint when I painted the car the first time myself, in a garage that was not done as good as I had hoped. So I completely sanded the car, went over it again with another layer of primer, and then painted it again. This is the fire layer of paint, but this is where there were two really big chips in the clear, and it just couldn't be saved. So instead of doing that, I got my hands years and years and years ago. I got my hands on an original screen use prop bumper from a Fourth Season bumper or Fourth Season car. So I made a mold out of it and popped this one out. And last year, did all the body work, primed it, sealed it. It is now ready for paint. It got too cold for the end of the year to paint it. So I'll be painting it in here, like a lot of you guys do. So I'll get that painted, and we'll do a series on that and getting this on the car. I'm going to redo the front fog lights too, because the car should only have 4, and right now it's got 6. So I did rewire them last year though, so they do function again. But yeah, we'll do one on that. I'll have a series on that car. I guess this is more of like a walk around for all the projects. Then there's this one. The stash is not staying in here. This was kind of commissioned to us to do a repair on, so I'm going to do that and make sure that it's ready to go again. This one is going to have, it runs fine. I see I pulled the bumper off of this one too. Stripped these, painted them down to black. I'm probably going to reuse them. I know a lot of guys, when they build their cars, they just remove them completely, but I'm not. I'm going to reuse them. Ended up rebuilding, or I painted the headlight doors, which are somewhere around here. Engine runs, doesn't leak. Actually runs pretty good for, what, 100,000 miles on this car? I'm actually not even sure. 142, as you can see. Original. That is the original engine to the car. We're going to keep the Crossfire, which runs fine. Should probably do for a resync just to double check it, but it's fine. AC does work. It's a 3rd gen with functioning AC. That's got to be rare. So I do have the liner for here. A lot of guys remove them. I'm putting it back in. It just keeps a little bit of the heat off the paint on the hood, because when this is painted black and it sits in the sun, it gets a little warm. So we're going to get that done. There's a lot to do on this car before it goes black and gets a lot of other stuff done. Update though under here. You can see everything. New exhaust. All 400 series stainless steel Dynamax with an Ultraflow SS muffler. A lot of the chassis has been stripped down and POR'd just to keep it from getting any worse than it was. There is no rust on this car, which is awesome, but it's in great shape. I did have to drop the fuel tank here last year to put a fuel pump in it, because the hose that goes between the fuel pump and the sender had rotted. So the fuel pump was actually functioning just fine. It just was pumping it right back into the tank. So drop that down, new fuel pump, put a new sender in it while it was down, because that was the time. The ethanol had destroyed that sender. This car no longer runs on ethanol. It gets straight fuel. So let that be a kind of a warning to anybody who's running ethanol. Don't. So there you can see, I'll open the trunk here in one of these, but there's the finished switch pods, prototype plate for the Ford Season car. There's one of the headlight doors. I knew they were around here somewhere. It's just, you know, it's projects. You work on something, you throw it down, you start on something else. So, and then we got a bunch of little things we're going to do on this. I think I showed them. If not, a couple new door lift supports. I have a leather kit to recover the right side knee pad. And I think I'm going to add the 83's hood DeLorean logo to the knee pad, just to kind of make the inside of it look kind of nice. Here is the subwoofer for the Fiero, as you can see. Cone, ride it out. We're going to recone that. The grill for it. We'll get that installed. I have the subwoofer box here, along with a bunch of Fiero parts. A lot of projects. There's always something around here to do, you know? It just never ends. So I guess that's kind of like a little mini channel update there, showing the bumper. And then I should clean this thing off. God, it looks so bad with all this dust on it. But there is KITT. All of its trains and glory. These cars look so good in black. They always have. They always will. There you go, L69. Still sitting in it, still running. And like I said, I was a big fan of putting those on back in the day. Probably will not have those on the 83. But, you know, they're there. So, yep, there we go. There's an update. Let's see if... Hey, look, the dome light works. All right, cool. So we'll see you soon. Alright, that's about all we got for today. I got the charger sitting on it. As you can see, the trees have decided to drop pollen and garbage and filth everywhere. So that's what I'm going to have to do next, is clean the stupid thing. Which is just what I love to do. Good thing I know somebody who knows how to clean cars pretty good. And he's on his way up here, so I'm going to put him to work. So anyway, yeah, once this thing gets charged, because like I said, it's been sitting for, unfortunately, a long time. But it is a yellow top, and it does seem to be taking a charge, so, which is pretty typical of those batteries. You can put a pretty good beating on them, and they come back. They're kind of a deep cycle. So, but yeah, I can't wait to get this thing running again. God, this thing is so faded. Usually, and there's so much dust on it, but I can usually bring this back to black. But like I said, I'm not going to go too crazy in making this thing look like, you know, spectacular or anything like that, because this is all going to come out anyway. And I'm going to actually showcase how to build your own custom Knight Rider style dash for your Trans Am. I'll break out my molds, and we're going to lay up a new one out of fiberglass, and I'll show you how to finish it and put it in here, and mount the one big screen with the correct TV frame, and make this as accurate as I can get it. Like, you know, some of you guys know who are fans of the show, there's supposed to be buttons all down through here, and those are supposed to be functional. So that's going to happen. Right now, these just light up as indicators. Actually, if there's enough charge in the battery, I should be able to show that off. Yep, there you go. They light up, and they look decent, and it's a cool display piece, you know, but it doesn't do anything, and I kind of want to have functionality, so we're gonna do that. And here, I should be able to power off the compass then too. Yep, look at that. And the compass is accurate. It does function. It works just the way it's supposed to, which is pretty cool. Everything in the dash does have a function. You've got your voltmeter, your temperature, your oil pressure, fuel level, Power, auto, normal, and pursuit, those work. When the dash is on, power is on. As you're driving down the road, normal and green, which also corresponds to normal here. When you turn on cruise control in this car, auto turns on there, auto turns on here, and I've got pursuit here and here, both wired to the hood scoop, actually. So when you put your foot to the floor, the hood scoop opens, and all of these turn off. They both jump to red, and you're in pursuit mode. So it's kind of similar to what the TV show did. It's not very often, obviously, that I do that, but it was kind of neat to have it functional. The tack does work. I know some people get driven crazy. Knight Rider fans get crazy by the way this thing just kind of climbs up and then drops off. I may change the templates to kind of make it more of a gradual, like semicircled, like it was in the show. I tinted these black too, so that when they're off, they're all black. But I'll change that too to make it more accurate. Gotta remember this thing was built over 20 years ago, and availability was different, and I was more into just building a custom car and driving it at the time. So it's neat. I'm gonna recess. I have an original countdown bar, or at least one that's pretty much identical to original. I've also fiberglass. I made a mold of a fiberglass of an original one, so if I wanted to make one out of glass, I could. The original ones were metal. I've got a metal one, and I've got a couple glass ones. So this will be changed with the proper wide, narrow LEDs that aren't real tall. They're also recessed into the dash, so where the top of this is actually level with the dash. So that'll be in here. The only difference I'm going to have from the prop car's dash, speakers. I'm keeping speakers. Got to have tunes, right? Can't be going down the road with no speakers. Got to have that. So I will be modifying that in my original dash. But everything else works. These, as like that right now, is another auxiliary voltmeter. The other ones that are on this specific set of dash, or this specific car right now, these are set to random scale. But I have another set of electronics that were built by the same guy that built these. And these are all functional. They just get wired in to an inlet temperature sensor, exhaust temp sensor. That one goes to a radar detector, oil temp, and then a fuel pressure gauge, which is why it says 0 to 15, because it was originally designed for the Crossfire. So, which is perfect if I was putting this on my other car. Unfortunately, I'm not. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with all these. Right now, these labels are correct, but they're not accurate to the show. That will all be changed. Over here, these take the place of your original GM indicators. So low, which is park, high beam, obviously. Left turn, right turn. I think AM is brake. FM is choke in this car because it's not injected, and CB, which you can barely see because it barely fits, is check engine. Odometer is functional, the trip is functional and resettable. Signal and tuning are both VU bar graph meters, and then obviously the compass, which I wired to a switch so that I can shut it off if I wanted to. So the car is wired, so you turn the key on, the main sections will all come on. The countdown does start. This lights up. Oops, I got the camera in the wrong place there. This lights up. And the VU meter here is wired to the CD player. I can turn that off individually, the switch pod's off, and then the overhead console, which these all light up, and then the ones in front of your eyes flash, and these switches are functional too. My trip reset is actually up there. And then I've got a set of sequence of buttons to push here to be able to start the car. Without that, you can't start it. You don't push them in the right sequence, it doesn't start. I got switches all over the place over here, so turn those off. Let's see, you turn this one on, it gives you a touch-tone keypad, which is kind of cool. There, I've got some other various functions powered into this right now. Not all of them are functional, but a lot of them are. Like I said, I like this console. There's things about it. I like this being directly in front of the driver, because the original TV one, I think, stops right about here, and there's only a few switches like way over here, so the whole thing is out of your way. I know why they did it. They wanted the camera to come through and shoot the actors while they were in the car. They didn't want any kind of obstruction, so I get why they cut it off here. It makes sense. And I may do that. I may still put one of the originals in here. I may not. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. If I do that, I probably got to change the headliner, because I had to modify a section behind here for this switchboard. I think that's the only section I had to modify. Plus, the original doesn't have this ear coming off. It's just flat, which, no big deal. Like I said, we're going to do a whole series. I'll show you how to lay up fiberglass. I'll show you how to solder electronics, how to mount electronics into a dash, how to build a custom dash, how to wire it all up, and make your car functional if you're looking to build a replica of KITT. I grew up in the late 70s, early 80s, and it's one of the coolest TV shows of my time. So I know today, compared to what's out there now with CGI and what they can do with special effects, it's obviously pretty antiquated, but it was still a cool show. And I'm a big Trans Am fan, so it was kind of merging two of my favorite things. But yeah, there you go. There's the update, at least on this one. I know you guys are probably tired of me working on the Fiero, but don't worry, there's more of that coming too. Plus, I've got that monster to get back on the road, because it basically has been sitting almost as long as this has, except that is in much better shape. And then I got a couple things on the Cadillac we got to do. Plus, the car's in the garage. Like I said, it never ends. So stay tuned. I'll see you soon.